Welcome back to the GOAT Show. My name is Mabricio Mookie Wilson, and I'm so honored to be joined by two GOATs in their own right and two legends. First off, I want to celebrate and introduce somebody who is a legend in New York City and somebody who's very, very important into the culture of football. Let's give a big round of applause to Mr. and the co-owner of Andgo Sports, Mr. Scott Knight. What's up, Scotty?
What's up, bro?
You know about the clap, did you? And next up, we have a superstar in his own right, a young footballer out of the University of Pittsburgh who's playing for the Riverhounds right now in the USL. I want to give a big round of applause to Mr. Arturo Ordoñez. So Arturo comes from Spain, a small village outside of Barcelona, and we're going to get a little bit turn of his background and his journey with Andgo Sports, how he got here to play college soccer and now is a professional playing in the USL. Scott, I want to start off with you and tell us a little bit about your services and how you were able to help others cross the pond, as they say. Tell us a little bit about Andgo Sports and your services helping European footballers come into college soccer in America.
Yeah, I think what we're recognized for is identifying players, understanding level and talent and quality, understanding how that fits within the different structures here across the different divisions, across the different styles with different coaches, right? West Coast, East Coast, North and South, and then being able to qualify the players on how they enter through the eligibility process and allow them the most amount of time here that the coaches can take advantage of and use those players' qualities and services, hopefully for several years.
Definitely.
So I think a lot of the coaching staffs across the country lean on us to try and support that process for them on the eligibility side.
And this is huge. I mean, finding talent like Arturo is just not putting together a coaching tour. I mean, you got to have some idea, like you said, of what the university is looking for. I think that's huge. That one thing that separates Andgo Sports from others. Can you tell us a little bit about how does a coach sign up for those services to go overseas for these scouting trips, and how often do you do it?
So I'm over in Europe about 3 times a year, one time in the fall, early winter around the February period, and then late in the spring, depending on when the seasons finish. So we stay in contact with the coaches based on their recruiting needs and their timeline. And as we start to identify players and come across players, positionally speaking, stylistic wise, we share that with them. So I guess as an example right now, there's coaches over in Europe, and during their travels, we're placing them into different matches and training sessions for our staff that's in Europe, for our offices, for our scouts that are there and the players that they've identified. And those specific needs from the coaches in the schools, we're sending them to those places to try and get a hands-on approach on if that's somebody that could be of interest to them.
So University of Pittsburgh was in Europe. Tell us a little about the club and the culture that Arturo comes from and your relationship with them.
So Pittsburgh was over with us in February, making some scouting and identifying players. At the time, their needs were different. It was further up the field, midfield and attacking. We went to Arturo's club, which is La Pobla, which is a club affiliated with a professional organization in the second ref now. Is that right, Arturo? First ref?
Now they first ref, yeah.
So they're in the first ref, which is the third category.
Okay.
So it's a professional category. The club is known for younger players. And we identified some players there. We took the staff with us in early winter. Those needs shifted for the university, And Arturo was somebody that we had identified after the time that we were originally there with Pittsburgh. So when they had gone back in the later part of the spring, we had recommended the head coach and the other assistant to go back to the club and to take a look at Arturo.
Arturo, I introduced you coming from a small village out of Barcelona. That is pretty disrespectful, especially I have never been there. Give us a little insight of where you're coming from, and then talk to us a little about the club that Scott mentioned where you were recruited.
So I'm coming from Salou. It's like a small town. It's like about 45 minutes away from Barcelona. It's next to Tarragona. It's another big city.
Yeah.
And I was playing by that time in La Pobla, which is a club affiliated to Nàstic de Tarragona, which is the first team. My team was U23s, so we were all young guys. And obviously the style of play was always to have the ball, keep possession, and always like try to play this Spanish style. And I think that's what maybe my coaches from Pittsburgh and Scott saw me. And they see that they saw that I had the ability to play for the University of Pittsburgh and the style they want to play.
Did you have intentions to get into that first team that you were affiliated with? And how close were you?
My first idea was always to be in that first team, but it's obviously really difficult to get that opportunity. You have a lot of guys trying to do the same thing as you. And I think it's really important to be open-minded and try to find another ways to achieve the ultimate goal, which is to be a professional player.
But at that time, you were in university in your hometown, or were you boarding somewhere else?
Yeah, I was in the university next to my house. It was like 20 minutes away, but like college and sports, it's a different thing over there. So do both things at the same time was really difficult for me. I struggle a lot going into exams, missing classes, even like sometimes I had to miss practice because I had like an important exam. So it was really difficult to do both things at the same time.
What did your coach say to you when you say, "Coach, I have to have an exam. I can't come to training before a big match"?
So it was kind of difficult because I was one of the only guys that study in that team, because obviously it's difficult to combine both and do both things at the same time. So they asked me the question, like, what do you want to be? You want to be a professional soccer player, or you want to be a student? And it's kind of, I didn't have that opportunity to do both things. And thanks to the college soccer system, I had the opportunity to do both. And now I'm a professional soccer player, but I also have a college degree.
A college degree. So your mother is very happy and your father's happy as well. So Scott, tell me how difficult it is when you go to recruit and certain players that you might feel you like and your coaches like maybe don't have the credentials to be eligible to play collegiate soccer. Do you have that issue a lot?
Yeah, so we put a lot of time and a lot of effort to qualify the player. To understand the timeline. Arturo is probably a perfect example of that, where sometimes the sporting timeline and the academic timeline doesn't match, especially in Europe for the reasons Arturo just explained. So being able to juggle that, understanding the NCAA rules and giving confidence to the coaches that they do take the time, they do trust in us and our evaluation and our process, that if they're going to go and look at a player and spend the time and the resources, that they understand that that's a player that can translate into them as quickly as they're going to want them, right? Coaches are impatient. And if they see something and they want it, they're going to want to move, and they're not going to want to know of any problems or any obstacles. So it can be complicated, and as Arturo said, it's uncommon there. It doesn't exist where education and sport interact. It's not part of the culture.
Now, Scott, tell us about the first time you saw Arturo play and that you felt that he was a good fit for Pittsburgh? What did you see in his game that you thought that that your clients would love?
So he's a very large human being, larger than most. That's
How tall are you, Arturo?
atypical for.
6'3".
I think I'll say 6'1".
Yeah,
Jeez.
but I think it's like that. It's
Yeah,
like 6'3" and
then
like that. So exactly, which is very atypical for Spain. But having said that, his feet were very good. His range of passing was very good. His ability to turn and defend and agility and quickness was excellent. He had a very good ideas, could read the game well, was strong in the air. And to his credit, like he had mentioned, Pobla plays a very specific style, which I thought would equate very, very well to Pittsburgh. And what they were looking for in those positions is central defenders. So Pittsburgh's a program that wants to keep the ball. They want to keep the ball on the floor, but yet they need to be able to compete and defend in those critical moments. I think the other piece, which Arturo would probably agree with, is he has the ability to score goals, which he did very, very well for
Pittsburgh, definitely. So Arturo, did you know the game that you were getting scouted, that college coaches were there, and did you have any ideas prior to taking that journey to go overseas to play in America collegiately?
So I had no idea that they were there. That's why I always tell people, like my teammates, that you have to play at your best level every game, because you never know who's watching you. And I didn't really know anything about college soccer. That's why it's crazy how Scott and my coaches from Pitt, like the recruitment process was amazing, because they told me how everything works. They explained me everything, and they took the time to explain me how it works, because I didn't know anything.
And what were your fears? And did you know anybody you played with, or classmates or family members who's gone through this process? So did you have any type of person you can ask in your hometown?
No, Scott put me in contact with Javi Perez, which is a guy who played in the same university as me, and he had like a lot of success doing that. And he helped me, explaining me the process, but it was me trusting Scott and the guys, trying to just explain me everything. I had a lot of questions, obviously, but they did a good job trying to help me. Even if my English by that time wasn't the best, but it really improved a lot during those years.
I could hear it's the women at Pittsburgh that helped you out so much. But Arturo, I need you to be honest with me. What was your thoughts and your opinions on football in the States before coming over here?
So I kind of watched MLS games because they brought those star players like Pirlo, Ibrahimovic, and all those guys. But I thought it was a physical game, a lot of running, more like English style, a little bit different from the Spanish style. But I thought like I could adapt really well to this style of play, and I wanted to take this challenge, to just challenge myself to be in another environment, another type of soccer, and grow from it.
Nice. Huge. So Scott, just one more time, can you let us know what you have for 2022 in terms of scouting in Europe? If I'm a coach watching this right now and I want to get a player for the fall, what's the process I would have to go to get in touch with you and get within your program?
Yeah, so we have scouting that goes on a daily basis, on a weekly basis as the matches over there. Obviously, we're stronger in certain regions than in others. Obviously, we're stronger in certain countries than in others. As far as that goes, as an example, there's coaches that usually take this time of year, the February, March kind of time periods, to go and make their international scouting and recruiting. As you know, the spring season's a little bit slower at this time. It's starting to ramp up for the universities. And while they're over there now, they're with our staff, with our scouts at training sessions and at matches. I'll go back over again, sometime depending on the holiday of Easter and when the particular competitions in those respective countries finish, and kind of time it as it's coming to an end for when those players are at a crossroads of they need to make decisions. Sometimes coaches are coming with me. Other times they're giving me their requirements, and I'm looking to try and identify something that could fit. And then it's kind of a mad dash, to be quite honest, to move very quickly. This later period is what Arturo fell into, and we had to go very, very fast, right? Documentation and information, and it's never enough, right, Arturo? They always want more. They always want more in one language and another language, and certified and not certified, and it can be complicated, but I appreciate Arturo's comments where he thought that we were there to help him and support him. So with the coaches, again, right, Mookie, I think that they rely on us and appreciate that we're able to keep all that organized and directed for them. So they want to be a part of it. It's very simple. Pick up the phone and call me, right? It's very simple. Drop me an email. We get on a plane and we go, right?
And where can they find your email and your phone number?
They can go to the website, they can go to the Instagram, which is probably the most common place that everyone's going right now.
And that's andgosports.com.
andgo sports, sports.com. And you can find us in Instagram with the handle Andgo Sports.
Arturo, I'm a player in Spain. I come from somewhere similar to your background. I want to follow your steps. I saw how amazing you were at University of Pittsburgh, dominating in the back, and I want to follow you. What's your advice to me?
I think you have to be proactive. I think you have to learn that, like, being in another kind of environment. I see a lot of players coming overseas that they expect to have the same type of success that they had in the past. I think when you go into another country, another style of play, another team, a new team, you have to be able to adapt to what the coaches want, what the game demands from you. And I think you have to be proactive to just try to improve and try to learn and grow from that experience. And my advice is always to try to understand that every process is going to take time to make you feel comfortable. Like in the beginning, for me, it was also difficult to adapt to those physical demands. We were running a lot more than I was running in Spain. And
preseason,
I remember
Pittsburgh.
My first, yeah, it was tough. But the fact that I was being uncomfortable by that time, then it made me a better player in the end. And that's why I think right now I had the opportunity to go drafted and in the end up playing the USL.
Definitely. And let's talk a little bit about the transition and your seasons at Pittsburgh. What was the hardest season you had and why?
My hardest season was probably the first one. As I said, adaptation is always, that's why I really appreciate Scott's work, because he got me, it was 4 years of eligibility. I only used 3 of them, but for me was the first year was an adaptation year. When I came, a lot of new things were going on, a lot of training, a lot of games twice a week. Mm-hmm. So that was tough for me. I was used to play once a week, and all those changes in my life came, and I think then, thanks to that adaptation process, I could play better and grow a lot as a player in my last 2 seasons, where I could find a huge success in the university.
Talk about success. What was your highest moment and your most memorable moment playing at University of Pittsburgh?
So it was probably winning the regular season, the ACC regular season. It was last fall. We won that, and for me it was amazing. We won it twice, like two seasons in a row, and it was it was an amazing feeling.
I mean, you guys were spectacular, and honestly, even this season, you were the best, played the best football to me in the country. Now getting drafted, tell us a little bit about that process and how that went for you. Even getting in touch with your agent, or him getting in touch with you and choosing your agent. How did that go about?
So the moment the season is gonna end, it's pretty crazy because you have to be focused to play, and you don't want to be trying to think what to do after. So I was really focused on just play and perform, and then whenever we end up the season, that's when I just started thinking about my future. I thought it was kind of late. Everything was like coming into me like really fast,
Yeah.
and it was like in 1 week after getting eliminated from the NCAA, I was going into the combine, MLS combine, and then that's when I started to think about everything and trying to figure out where I was gonna go and have a plan A, a plan B, even a plan C
Yeah.
for like if something didn't work. But I stayed over the Christmas break in Pittsburgh training and trying to prepare myself because I didn't know what was going to happen, and I was going to be ready. I wanted to be ready for everything.
Tell us a little about the process for the MLS Combine. It's a whole new system that they had, or they started a year ago. How was that process, and did you enjoy it? Do you think that you played well as well?
So we received an email. I got an email like 2 weeks before finishing my season, and I knew I was pre-selected to go to the combine. But like with the new system, if we were going to the NCAA Cup, the College Cup, we weren't going to go to the combine because the scouts were gonna come to see our game. We lost in the late eight, so I had unfortunately to go to the combine. That wasn't my plan. I wanted to win the College Cup, but I had to go to the combine. It was really tough because it was 3 days of a lot of training, physical test, and a lot of pressure. And I did really well, but it was a really good experience. Like I met a lot of players. I made friends, and it's an unbelievable experience to be there.
How was your legs at the end of the season going into the combine? Because usually they do it in January, so you have a time to rest, recuperate. Did you feel that it's better to go right at the end of the season? Maybe you're still in form, or you felt that you might have knacks and injuries from the season, and that can hinder your play and performance?
So my last game, I had like an ankle injury. I had like a minor sprain. So during that week, I just took a week almost off. I trained the 2 days before the combine to make sure I was good. But yeah, I think I was in shape. I was obviously whenever you're playing and with the adrenaline of the combine, you don't feel anything.
Yeah.
But after the combine, I took as well a whole week off, which I don't like. I don't like to take days off.
You can get out of shape in 1 week.
Yeah, I didn't like to do that, but I had to because I knew that I was gonna play another full season this year, and I had to be ready for it as well. So I had to do it, even though I didn't want to.
Yeah. So now you're staying in the same city, and you play for a college great, right, Jay Vidovich, and now you're gonna play for a USL great, Bob Lilly, who doesn't play around. He has a system. He has a format. How do you fit in as a center back so far, going through the preseason with your new coach, the great Bob Lilly?
So I think personality-wise, Jay and Bob are really similar.
Yeah.
They
old school.
they both want perfection, and they're gonna push you. They're gonna push you to that, and if you don't meet the standards, they're gonna let you know. You're gonna know that you're not.
That's
well
type
enough.
of coach is Scott like, who can tell you about yourself at the moment and doesn't sugarcoat anything, you know?
Yeah, but I really like it because you can't relax any day. You have to go all in always, and that's how you improve. So I'm feeling pretty good. I think he he likes people that wants to compete, and I will always compete and do my best. So I think that's for Jay and Bob is the same thing.
Definitely. And it's kind of easy for you. Not saying say easy, but I'm sure the adjustment is a little bit easier for you staying in the same city. I'm sure you guys play against the Riverhounds a lot of times in spring or the preseason. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, listen, we just want to highlight your journey, and I'm glad you took time to tell your story. We know that what work that Scott and Andgo Sports do is phenomenal, and we wanted to highlight that, but also help the next Arturo coming through for whatever country coming across the pond, that they can hit up Scott Knight and Marco at Andgo Sports. And we also wanted people to know how you're 6'3" with feet, who can slide tackle from one side of the field to the other, and who scores goals. So you're a big time player. We thank you so much for making time for us. And we look forward for you having an amazing career, a long journey. And just make sure that when you play the Red Bulls, you give us some tickets so you can come and watch you play.
For sure. That would be a pleasure.
I thank you so much, and thank you for being patient as well, brother.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
All right, we'll check up on you during the season, and then after you score your first goal, you got to come on here. Is that a promise?
Yeah, so it's gonna be soon then.
I love that talk. We're New Yorkers. We love that shit talking. Yes, my brother. All right, take care.
Perfect.
All right, take care.